Like notes, videos. These are the songs of our lives. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Songs of Our Lives. I am Brad Rose. I'm an artist, a composer, a writer, the founder of Foxy, Digitalis, and someone who thinks about music and sound far more than is healthy. Each week I invite on a guest to talk about the songs and the music that has meant a lot to them and left its mark. Previous guests include Ben Chasney, Circuit de You, James Toth, Damon Locks. The list goes on. But this week I am so excited to welcome the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Ethan Miller, onto the show. Ethan is, we've kind of orbited in the same galaxies for a long time. Of course, he is the co-founder of Comets on Fire, the founder of Hal and Rain, two of the best bands. I mean, Comets on Fire is probably like top 5 all-time favorite band or something. But yeah, he's the sort of occasion for this is he's got this killer new trio record coming out on his Silver Current imprint. It is self-explanatory. Orcutt, Shelley Miller. It's him with Bill Orcutt and Steve Shelley. And it is every bit as awesome as you'd think. I've been listening to it a lot out in the studio, and I'm painting, which my studio is my garage. And so it's summer and it's very hot. But this, I don't know, it fits the mood, it fits the vibe, and it has been, it's been great. It's a great record. If you're a fan of this stuff, you've already know about this record and you're super excited about it. And yeah, this episode was a blast because I don't know, I can't remember the last time I was just cracking up through half of it because Ethan's great. Ethan's awesome. I hope y'all enjoy listening to it. Thanks for checking it out. My guest today, frankly, needs very little introduction. He's a guitarist, a songwriter, the founder and co-founder of some of my favorite bands ever, Comets on Fire, Hal and Rain. It's Ethan Miller. Welcome to the show. Woo!
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Brad.
How we doing?
Doing good. I'm hanging in. I'm forging forward through the primordial ooze.
Yeah, that's a good description of it.
It gets oozier and oozier. I thought that it would progress, that our worlds would just keep getting, more and more like the future that we saw ahead of us in the 80s. But the primordial ooze is like coming back up. We're headed back through history.
It's going like hardcore the other direction. It's great. It's not at all. Well, hey, but in better news, you've got a really awesome record coming out September 5th on Silver Current, I think. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Other people who need no introduction, Bill Orcutt and Steve Shelley. I'm curious, like, what's kind of the spark that brought you guys together?
Well, a couple things happened to get it all to the end result there. But the original spark was probably that, I was around San Francisco when Bill started playing out again after he had a decade plus, 12 more years or something where he'd kind of, as far as I know, quit public music. And, I'm not sure if he was doing music behind the scenes either. And then he quietly came back out and started playing music again. And I caught what I think are some of those early shows when he was just doing acoustic guitar. Harry Pussy had been on my periphery in the 90s a little, and then when I saw Bill playing those gigs at like the Hemlock and some of our Tenderloin, Dive Bar, San Francisco, small rooms and stuff, I was like, whoa, that guy's good. I mean, the first time I saw him do it, I don't know if it was an exceptional show, but I thought he's going to break that acoustic guitar in half for sure.
Yeah.
he's tearing the thing apart, you know? And
Yeah.
I was just like, God, I love it. And the way he was playing, of course, being, the Orcutt style,
Yeah.
even more on acoustic than electric,
Uh-huh.
um, it sounded like it was breaking too. It just
Yeah.
has that feeling. Tom Carter calls it the bursting clock, or the bursting clockwork sound of
Yes.
Orcutt's guitar. And on acoustic, it sounds even all the more dangerous, like things, because the instrument's more fragile than
Right.
expression. So, all that is to say, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on this.
Yeah.
And then, I think his progression since that acoustic re-entry into music to now has been faster in evolving than any fan could keep up with. So by the
Yeah.
time I went back after seeing a one or two of those acoustic gigs and thought, I'm going to go see that crazy acoustic show again, he was, playing some gorgeous, electric stuff, maybe he was onto the traditionalist
Hmm.
record by then or something, or, God knows what. You can't keep up, but it
Right.
was, every step was thrilling. And, we started, crossing paths at these gigs, playing on the same gigs and stuff. We
Right.
did gigs here on Oblivion, and I did a couple of like my solo experimental thing, the Odyssey Cold, maybe did like a gig like that at Hemlock that he played on. And so, we were socializing a touch more too. And in 2019, to make a long story a little longer, I I was doing the band. I was band leading and curating for a celebration of the Grateful Dead's Live Dead album and Oxomoxo album. It was their
Oh,
50th anniversaries in 2019, from 69 to 2019.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we did it at the chapel, and I was charged with putting the roster together of guest players and whatnot in the backing band. And so I asked Bill, um, and he wasn't a Dead fan, which he said, I'm not really a Dead fan, but I'd love to do it. And I said, well, great. That's what I thought he'd say, you know, and, and he came and did it. And, he did Death Don't Have No Mercy, and,
Huh.
just killed it. But being Bill, I couldn't really tell if he was having fun or not while he was doing
Right.
it, because it's hard to tell whether, I mean, now actually, you look over and see Bill like laughing, having a good time. But for that first 10 years of back in music, it was a pretty fearsome demeanor up there, whether he was, having a great time or not. It was like, I don't
Same
remember.
look.
I don't remember him casting off a lot of smiles. They're just like, wow, yeah, this is sure a laugh. But he wrote me the next day and said, you know, like that was fucking super fun, and I
Oh, that's
loved it.
awesome.
And I haven't really played with a band like that, like soloing and that feel of a backing band, since I was in like high school, because even Harry Pussy wasn't that, you know?
Right.
And,
Right. Right.
and and so I said, well, what if we dreamed up a project, that was some kind of backing band that was sort of your, one of these 70s subgenres, be it, krautrock, or, avant rock, or fusion, or something, or some blend of
Hmm.
all these things, and then do a live show or a recording or something like that, and just see if it's still fun. And so we were about to finally do that, because we kept sort of tangling around trying to get it together. And the pandemic hit after we actually had a gig at the Ivy
Oh
Room
man.
set. It was like
Jeez.
it was like 6 days before the gig or something. California locked all the way down. It was like every business is closed, every home is closed. Get back in your house. You'll be in there
Oh
for a month.
man.
And so we're like, oh shit, okay, well that's gone. And then to fast forward to the other end of the pandemic, we'd still been in touch, and at some point I said, let's can we revisit that idea?
Yeah.
And by that point, Steve and I had been working together, because I had released a Sonic Youth record on my label, and he and I had been hot and heavy on that production for a year or something, going elbow to elbow, or more, 2 years maybe. It was a big project.
Yeah.
And so I suggested Steve to Bill, and he said, yeah, that sounds cool. So we all met in LA, and had two 2 days of studio, and the third day was a live recording at Zebulon, and that's what the debut album is. Turned out to be the live record.
Man,
Yeah,
that's a hell
epic
of a
story, right? You know,
yeah, no kidding, man. That's quite
when Bill's on your show, he'll be like, "Oh, I met you." His story will be, he's like, "I met you in San Francisco," and he asked me if I want to do it, and then
yeah, and a few years later we did it. There was,
and then I love Sonic Youth and used to tour with them, and it'll be like just a few seconds, you know.
Man, so okay, so yeah, so the record's the live performance. And so you guys have like studio stuff too, or is that like?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I mean, we do have 2 full days of studio material, but I think that was part of the thing was that, we're kind of a nebulous affair as to like which way to go, how to go, who leads what moment, who can carry this thing through, does this have to turn over to Bill to edit all the studio material? Do we do it in collaboration? Like, so the closer we got to trying to like open up these, 10 hours of studio files of basically improvised stuff,
Yeah.
We were like, man, this is tricky. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot more creativity after we've already had our big creative moment, And so I think we took a good hard look at that, at the Zebulon performance, which was kind of the distillation of what we'd done. And, in the studio, just kind of, down into a distilled rock thing, and we said, look, this is good. Let's do this. We can always revisit the studio stuff or whatever, but let's go with this energy and this distilled little thing here.
So does this feel like a sort of one-time thing, or is this like going to be, I don't know, more of an ongoing every once in a while, or do you know?
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, only time. Nobody knows how long a band lasts, Brad.
Fair enough.
You know that, man. I mean, if you've been in a band, and then the first thing you learn in high school when you're in a band or whatever is that if you think you got something good, record it tonight because tomorrow somebody's going to call you and probably break up the band or leave or whatever.
Don't get too comfortable.
Nobody knows, but I think that our benefit is that we're having fun, and I'd like to keep doing it, and I think we could easily abide by Bill's sort of, his, I don't know what you call them, like his rails or whatever that run artistically that are like, there's no rules.
Yeah.
The next one could just be a completely outer experiment. We don't have to abide by expectations, I guess is what I'm saying. And then we don't have to do it for ourselves either. And each time we go and play gigs, to me at least, I'm like, man, each one, especially when we got to play 4 in a row on the East Coast on our last tour. By the 4th one, I was just like, they're going to have to repaint this fucking place. You know what I mean? About the last one at Terry's, I was like, it literally, somebody would have to call the insurance. This shit is just pull the bone out of this fucking thing, I'm like, I cannot wait to do like a 9-day tour or something and see what happens. Because it's like we're, the fire and chemistry and stuff is so exponential, with each time we get to do something. So I don't know, all that to me says that I hope that, we record more and do more and that it keeps working that well,
Yeah, that's all. I mean, like just listening to the record, it just sounds like you guys are having a hell of a good time.
And, I think so. I think
these days finding a way to have a hell of a good time is worth something.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, sometimes you do music things that are jobs, and sometimes you do them. It's your life, and you're like, it's your life, you're social. You're like, this one's for my heart and soul.
Right.
I mean, that one over there,
Absolutely.
I got to do that gig or whatever it is. And, at least for me, this is certainly a heart and soul thing,
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, long may it continue, but who knows? And, the record is I've listened to it, so it's been like the perfect summer record for me. Especially I've listened to it a lot when like my painting studio is in my garage, which, as we were discussing before we got on here, it's hot as hell here in Oklahoma.
Jesus.
So I'm out there dying most days, but I have had this just blasting
Oh,
like
awesome.
every day, and it's so cool. So it's anyway. So everybody go buy the record September 5th.
That's good to hear. It's a cool summer record. I don't think, sometimes you're like, this is going to be a great summer record, but I don't know if you thought anything seasonally about this one,
Right. Yeah, well, hey, it may be a great winter record too. I don't know. We'll find, but
Hopefully it works for all seasons through to, next spring.
yeah, right. Yeah. Summers are going to be over and people are going to be like, okay, put it away. And, well, which would be bad because it comes out at the end of summer. But anyway, okay. Well, we could go down this rabbit hole further, but then we'd be here forever. So I'm going to switch gears and we're going to get into talking about a bunch of songs. And as always, I'm going to start with, what is the first song that you remember?
The first, there's a couple swirling in there, but I have a very, very strong memory of Hey Jude, of hearing like the big na na na's at the end.
Sure,
and like the French horns kicking in back there,
Oh man, yeah.
And like just something about that, like Beatles, grab, that everybody, obviously, most people, except for the Beatles haters, but most people, feel that obviously very quickly when they hear the Beatles for the first time. So it's one of those songs, one of those grabs, and they're just like, oh, wow. And, my dad used to have these, he had the albums and then like little black cassettes, from the 70s that he dubbed on for the pickup truck, when we're driving up the mountain and stuff. And I remember that and Jefferson Airplane, Surrealistic Pillow, and a couple others like of those cassettes sort of rolling around on the dashboard. But specifically, I think that Hey Jude, that coda and those French horns and everything kicking in, I was like, wow, like at a very young age, that was maybe my first intro of like feeling the power of music, where I'm just like, wow, I don't think I'll be able to like get over this ever.
Right. Yeah. I have like, my dad had all the Beatles records, and I have memories of listening to Hey Jude when I was very young.
Yeah.
With him. And the that part, it's just, I don't know, it's like permanently imprinted in my brain. And I sometimes think it's like because I feel like I've always been a sucker for a good like wordless chorus.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think it all stems from this early memory.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get much better than this one, but
I mean, it just speaks to something about too, like if you're a songwriter, not forgetting that, I don't know, like McCartney has such a good knack, and we saw it in that 8-hour film of them like writing right in front of your very eyes and stuff, where it's just like na 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 is bullshit, and the melody isn't anything special. And yet it's like it all comes together and just feels like all humans on Earth are just like projecting like electricity through their voice. And you're like, this is the sound of planet Earth, like in total ascension, incredible. Yeah. And you're like, man, and he wrote it, Hey Jules for Julian, but Jules didn't really rhyme. So he just changed it to Jude. So it's a meaningless person, that's center of it, like as name wise. And all those are these great little lessons of like, it doesn't, you don't have to write like Tolstoy's War and Peace. Like if a song is right, there's something else, something alchemical and something
totally.
It just like comes together and hits, and he was kind of the king of that, of just like, well, let me grab a little bit of this, sprinkle a little bit of this bullshit on here, like, hey, I can just tell that's the right shit. You know what I
mean? and then, you've got one of the most timeless things ever.
It hits, it makes the power,
Yeah, that's, it is such a good point. What is the song that either makes you cry, or if it doesn't actually make you cry, it makes you feel that kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, I do get welled up in this, just like this tiny bit of like tears sometimes while I'm listening to music. I don't usually break down, into full, but it's usually not from something sad, like a quote unquote sad song, The song I picked for this one is Truth Is Marching In by Albert Ayler, from specifically the Live at the Village Vanguard 1966 album. Yeah. And it's one that like it's such a complex tangle of expression and emotion and traditions and breaking traditions. Like the complexity of this thing creates such an emotional complexity for me.
Mhm.
And I would assume for anybody that actually, feels it, that gets past, that gets past, liking or not liking free jazz. But yeah, I mean, it's like that for me is something that really inhabits that, where I'm like, man, someone has done something, you know, so dynamic
Yeah.
and so, it's politically dynamic, it's spiritually dynamic, it's musically masterful, it's musically simplistic, it's, all these different competing and opposing dynamics that all work in this incredible um just like creative architecture, that isn't
Hmm.
even, I don't know. I guess it's hard to explain. I mean, the song itself is sort of like I'm having trouble explaining it,
I
but it definitely moves me.
Yeah, I've always thought like I don't know. It's like what is there to say about Ayler that hasn't been said? But I always feel this is like one of those pieces that sums him up so well. I think, and like yeah, the way he plays with those sort of familiar motifs, but just I don't know, like you said, breaks them apart and puts them back together. And there's just like yeah, it's like emotional ferocity underneath all, like winding through the whole thing. It's just oh man,
Yeah, it's a little like, I mean, people probably say this a lot in free jazz about the postmodernists, lit guys or whatever, but it's a little like, Joyce, Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake or one of these where like it takes genius to compose this and try to put the world inside of your art, all of it,
yeah,
all of the world. And then at the same time, to try to put childlike
yeah,
elements, that the joy of a free mind of the child, and there's those motifs in there, yeah, that are just they're taunting and playful, and then some of them spill into funeral march jazz, and some of it just like the world is there,
hmm
including a human's ability to not always, be intellectual or profound or mature,
hmm
and that, you know, you see that in some of my favorite genius postmodernist writers and stuff. And
absolutely,
it's not as common in music,
yeah.
I don't think. It's
I,
hard to sometimes, you get a dude like Zappa or something that goes a little further over to one
right.
medium. He's just like, I'm going to stay in fart. There's going to be fart jokes and grab ass for so long around the genius and the world
Yeah.
building that I do. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like,
Right.
and that is kind of the Finnegan's Wake kind of thing where you're like, that's too much fart jokes or whatever. Like for this crazy ass 1,000 page thing you're putting me through, like too much. But back to Ulysses, you're like just the right. You just the
Yeah.
right. Let's see the whole world. It's like
I love that.
so.
Uh, well, what's a song that'll put you in a better mood?
I think I picked "Fearless" by Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I
Um,
always think there's something just so like pleasing about this song. Like I
yeah,
don't. It just feels right. Everything feels right, which is kind of. I mean, that I don't know. That's kind of Floyd's thing a little bit, but man, this song. Whew,
it's a cool, beautiful jam. It is. It feels really. I think it's a song that like it both musicians and non-musicians could appreciate it. Like you get someone that's into theory that could say, "Oh, it's
right.
actually quite interesting what they chose to do with these chords and the rhythm of it and how they turn the progression around back right there." And like, and you get all trippy with your, music, friends. And then people that know nothing about it are like, wow, it's just such a killer jam, like
Right.
it sounds pretty simple, I never learned it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't
Right.
think it's probably as simple as it looks, but
Right.
um, and then there's something about the way that they brought in at the end, which this seems so ill-advised to me, the way that they recorded what I think is probably a soccer slash football stadium
Uh huh.
of people chanting at a big match. Don't you think? Is that what
That's
that
yeah.
is
I
in
think
there?
so. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and I'd be like, on paper, I'd be like, you fucking, that doesn't sound like that's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to hear that in this
Right.
gorgeous, ethereal song, but it somehow like, it just takes you to this gorgeous, like day on the green, at like
Hmm.
Wimbledon or something. And like people are just drinking Pimm's cups and a little breeze comes up and that power of like being with like 500,000 people that are all
Right.
doing one thing at once. Like if you've ever been at a sports event when everybody does
Yep.
something nice all at the same time, like just
Yes.
like, ooh, or yay or whatever. And you're like,
Right.
wow, that was like 200,000
Yeah.
people that made a single expression of pleasure or joy. And you're like, there's nothing quite like that, whether you like
Yeah.
sports or not. And they somehow, that's what they got out of that fucking sample of the sports thing, which I would still advise on paper, like, don't do it, guys.
Right.
Don't put it doesn't sound like it's a good idea, but
Yeah.
it just brings it all home,
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
does, man. No,
That one makes,
I'm totally with you.
yeah, maybe it's something like the Hey Jude thing too, where in like these trying times, it's sort of, you hear the sound of people engaged in like a positive,
Yeah.
a relaxed, positive, their most pleasurable moment altogether,
Yeah.
unified, I don't
Yeah,
know.
man.
I don't know.
No, I think there might be something to that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm smart enough to figure it out, but
No, I mean, that's the beauty is that you don't have to, right? Or, and you
right.
find
Just
the
feel it,
musicians
man.
didn't exactly know what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's like, they're like, we're just fucking around. We're stoned,
Yeah.
full chord progression and,
Yes. All right. Well, everybody's favorite question: what is objectively the greatest song of all time?
I know. I didn't. Does everybody give you kickback on that, or has anybody do like when you first ask them that they just like it's definitely this? Or is everyone just like, come on, Brad?
No, everyone's just like, come on, and which is that's the reason I put it in there. I just love to see people's reaction. Like I gotta fuck with people a little bit because there is no
Yeah,
objective.
totally. Well, I am your first guest that has the answer. The best song of all time is "Trash" by the New York Dolls.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say no.
You asked, and then I said that before I read that your other prompt was, but if an alien showed up and you wanted to show them like the height of sonic achievement, what would it be? And I said, that's perfect. I chose the perfect song. That should have gone in the Voyager time capsule.
Absolutely.
It's like, here it is. Like, this is the best of us, describes us, watch out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah, yeah, I love this song so much. I mean, New York Dolls are one of my all-time favorites, but yeah, this is like it's like chaos and vulnerability like in the same breath. And I don't know how that makes any but it does like they just
and confidence and it's
it's a swagger.
6'4" guys in drag that can barely hold it together. Half of them just learned to play and they're just like banging out the greatest tune on the greatest album of all time. And nobody can fuck with that, and the song's about like, just like low down New York City, knife fight in an alley or whatever. Just like the kid, kid scores some drugs. I'm like, that's all basically, that's fine for me if that's how the human race is summed up by the New York Dolls. I'm like, that's it. There you go, alien.
It's a much more a much realer picture than we were painting for the aliens with like fucking Bach or whatever we sent out there.
Yeah, and just like, here's the height of our achievements, democracy. Look at everybody voting and doing all this and like the mess it's made. And here's all our military crap and everything. And you're like, look, when people are left alone to do what they want, these guys will get into fucking dresses and shit and start getting into trouble. You know what I mean? It's like, and they'll start making music, this sub-stonesy shit that's better than half the stone shit. And like, you know what I mean? And like, and they're fucking each other, and like, they're ready to fucking mix it up and everything. So I don't know. To me, that's like these guys from the moment I think that song first, that I first heard it, I was just like, this is what a human being can be. This is incredible. This is what a musician can be, Let's
totally.
get started.
Yeah. Can't argue with any of that. All right. What's a song you used to love, but now you hear it, you think about it not so much?
Well, this is probably the opposite of what my hip answer could be, but I actually, I'd always read about Lou Reed's Metal Machine music and how radical it was. Oh my God, everybody lost their minds when he put it out and all this
Right.
stuff. So I'd never given it like a really, really proper listen, and I picked up a copy. Um, I don't know how many years ago now, but a while ago, the last time I checked in with it, and it was just like the right moment. And I just was
Yeah.
like, what are they talking about? This is stunning, stunning music. Like I just
Yeah.
heard all the colors and all the intention. It sounded like a fucking symphony to me,
Yeah.
And I was driving on the 101 back up North Eureka, and I listened to like all four sides and then clicked it again and listened to it again. And I was just like, this is incredible. And then I went back to it, like a couple of days ago because I hadn't listened for a while. And
Uh-huh.
it sounded like the reviews that had said, like, I didn't get it anymore. I don't know it's so funny the way that happens, but it happened to me, and it revealed it's not very hip to say that I, maybe got like less cool than could understand the record anymore or something over a couple of years, but never happened. I just was like, dude, I can't sit here and listen to this for like 30 minutes. It sounded so abrasive. Maybe it was my speakers or something.
No, it's funny because like I had a really similar experience this week. Because I same thing. I heard this a while ago, and again had the same reactions. Like, this is incredible.
You had the same experience with Metal Machine music?
Yeah, because I hadn't until it was on your list, and I was prepping for this. Okay. It's like I was like, oh man, I haven't listened to this in a while. And when I saw that it was your answer to this, I was like, God, really? I remember this being incredible. I was like, man, we might fight. And then I put it on the other day, and I was like, so I was like, yeah, this is not working for me now. I don't. So it may not have been your speaker. I don't know. I was like, man, it's like, does this mean I'm getting old?
I think it, some things just like, the most radical art probably it's a little bit of context and setting and everything. So like,
yeah,
I think, you have to get into that mental thing, kind of like reading some of those guys we were talking about earlier, where you're like, I see the whole world in their book. And then other times you're like, man, I'm not able to like grind through this thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is so fucking challenging. And like, I didn't remember Metal Machine music being that challenging, but it did sound awfully shrill to me this time.
Yeah, maybe in like 15, 20 years, I'll revisit it and be like, oh man, no, this is like, I don't know. But I get it. I get it. Okay. What's a song that most people hate, but you love it?
I don't know. I can't figure this question out. Everybody else, what song most people absolutely hate, but you love it? Yeah, I don't know.
So I had to put like a real specific context on this because I did an episode where somebody interviewed me, like I made myself answer these questions.
Yeah.
And so there's a song that I love that my daughter, if I try to put it on, she just gets pissed. Like I can't listen to it when she's home.
Yeah.
So it's the song Rasputin by Boney M, which is a fucking banger, and I don't care what anybody says. But so yeah, that's fair. If is there anything like, I don't know, when you're on tour in the van, if you put it on, you're gonna get you're gonna get thrown out of the
I mean, that kind of happens, but I can't figure out what I would stand by. Sure. I guess here's the thing: is it's like, it's also my personal listening. It comes and goes. So almost anything that I've called out as like disliking, like, it's a little bit like going to an art museum. Sometimes you're like, that looks like bullshit to me,
Yeah.
And then, when you get context, when you get, some kind of education about what might be behind a piece of abstract art or something, you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I see, this is genius. But not all things, come to you. We demand that of music, and but to me, music is art, so it doesn't all come to you. Taylor Swift is built to come to you. That's not something that you're supposed to have an education to engage with.
Right.
But on the other hand, Metal Machine music may be, and reading the story of what was going on in his life or why he did that, or, who the forefathers of that kind of, music are or whatever, it may allow you to appreciate it, So I don't know. It's the other reason philosophically that I have a hard time even getting, cause I don't feel high and mighty about it, but my state of appreciation is in such flux that
Yeah.
I don't seem to, like I don't keep playing like, Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith around the house and having my wife just be like, God, turn it on. The other reason I couldn't really do that in this context is because she constantly plays, like she will love a piece of music and then keep playing it and it never gets old. So like if she's like, she's making dinner and she's like, man, I'm throwing on Purple Rain or whatever. And I'm like, dude, we listen to Purple Rain like 260 days out of the year so far, and it's never like, I want to listen to something else. It's just like, it worked last night and it works tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it works, So,
that's a really good point. Yeah.
There isn't much for her that she'll, she probably thinks I'm moving awfully fast through my selections,
I relate to that on a like cellular levels. it's the same thing in my house. I'm like constantly just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the, with Foxy Digitalis stuff, part of it is I have to, but it's like, I can't get enough. I'm like this voracious listener of, always looking for something. And yeah, my wife has things she just loves and she's just going to listen to that. And that's cool. Like there's no wrong way to appreciate music or art. So,
Yeah, in some ways it was, I think I've seen some people write, maybe it was like James Toth did an article on it or something, but he was kind of describing that, that kind of repetitive listening was the way that we listened before, the DSPs, digital platforms and all this stuff, when we were working with physical media, all that physical media cost us money.
Yeah.
And usually 100%. We would take home a record a week if we were lucky or whatever, and you'd really live with it. If you're like, you'd either be like, oh, I paid for it, I'm going to check it out more than once to make sure that I am getting it, or before I take it back and get only a quarter of what I paid for it. And if you loved it, you might listen to that record 25 times that week, and it's like, and your recollection, for most of us, we did not have the world catalog at our fingertips and we were not devouring music by the tonnage.
Yeah.
We were writing a letter to somebody far away. Hey, can you get a hold of this thing for me? Yes, I can.
Right.
Or 4 or 5 weeks later, or eBay or whatever it is, the thing comes and you're like, I've been working on this a long time,
Yeah. I better love it. I'm going to.
I hope I do, but I'm going to engage with it. That's for sure.
Right.
I'm not going to just like, eat it and spit it out or whatever as quickly as possible as I'm at a fucking wine tasting.
Right.
I'm gonna drink the whole fucking bottle tonight. It's like just this wine here for the week. Man. So I mean, it kind of makes sense, that there's that. I don't know. I like that idea. That non.
Yeah.
But but I'm with you. I mean, we're in the business of trying to keep up, and it's incredible how you can all day just keep hitting the play and promo button and listening here and there and trying to listen to everything that's happening and then realize no matter how on top of it you feel that you're just missing great releases by the tonnage, that you're missing bands that are blowing up, that are huge, that might be selling, thousands of copies in the indie world that you should probably have heard of by now if you're all day long in this, music business media. And it's just, it's so vast. It's kind of cool in a way because, it's much more reassuring to know that, that great music is infinite, than it is to know that like, oh, that fucking thing, I've heard it all, I
I've run out of good stuff. Shit.
I know I heard it. It's dry as a bone out there,
Oh, what a time to be alive. All right. What's the most romantic song?
The most romantic song of all time for me is, and as you guessed by now, I'll probably have a qualifier for this. you're like, oh Jesus, exhausted on the other end of the podcast. I Can't Stop Loving You Live by Tom Jones from the album Live in Las Vegas.
He's on fire on this thing, man.
So on fire. I mean, maybe the most on fire.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you watch videos from the era of Tom Jones, which I highly recommend, this is what do you think? This is
100%.
67
Like
through
67,
70.
6. Yeah.
Is that era? This album might be 68 or 69. But if you want to see a video of him dancing, which he was doing while he's singing,
Huh.
and get that going while he's doing this kind of singing, it is absolutely fucking
Oh,
mind blowing.
it's
You know.
superhuman stuff, man. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. It's unreal.
And I would say that this is more of like the greatest romantic song about just being like romantic about life and one's like
Mhm.
exploding ego. And, like,
Yeah.
because when I hear this, it's not so much that I believe that Tom is singing this to a lost love. The way that when you hear an Elvis song or something, you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I can feel like Blue Moon, man. I'm like right there with that character. It's not even Elvis anymore. I'm like deep down in his heart, And with Tom, you're just like, he's kind of like just in love with his own power or something in kind of an
Right.
incredible way. I am too. I'm just like,
Yeah. I mean,
Jesus,
I
I mean,
get it.
yeah. So I spent some of my lost youth living above a bar in Old Town Eureka, and there was more than one day, I maybe had a couple of drinks and put the speakers and hooked them up out of the window of my second floor apartment and just like blasted this out onto Old Town, so everybody
Oh,
could hear
man.
it. It really is one of those when you're like, yeah, I'm on top of the world, man. This is the power
Yeah.
of a human, you know,
Yeah.
superhuman.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they don't make
Yeah.
them like that anymore.
No. And totally agree. Like, you got to watch the videos of him from this era. You will enjoy yourself. And if you don't, I don't know, man. Check your pulse. Um, okay. What's a song that changed your perspective on an artist, either for better or for worse?
Um, Starless by King Crimson. I made it a long time kind of knowing the one song and seeing a lot of their records and knowing people that liked them and stuff. And, it was a little bit of an impenetrable catalog. It's one
Yeah.
of those things I'd made it a long time and hadn't really delved in very deeply. Just scratched the surface. I had an old cassette that had sat around in a car that I listened to quite a bit of, like Wake Up Poseidon. I was like, this is pretty mellow, you know what I mean? Kind of cool Baroque mellow shit or something
Mm-hmm.
with a couple jammers. Um, and then at some point, I don't know where or why exactly, Starless came across my path, hit me and I stepped into their world, all the way. And I was like, I
Yeah.
went so deep that I was like, I was like collecting different like geographic issues of their recordings, like I was like, oh, for Island, I got to get the Japanese one, with the holy strip because it sounds like it has more treble, but I'll also need, the UK version because it's bass heavy. It doesn't have enough treble. I want to like hear both those versions. And like, I went so just like as nerd
Wow.
can go.
Yeah.
I bought the book and I just was so fascinated by, Robert Fripp's, the concept of him,
Mm-hmm.
curating this group and Fleetwood kind of did this, too with Fleetwood Mac, where he, he's like, I'm just sort of here to like curate these different songwriters and these different eras and vibes
Mm-hmm.
and sort of let this natural but yet hyper controlled reinvention keep happening in the group
Yeah.
and really just and how much Fripp claims like how terribly hard it was and he didn't enjoy any of it and did it his whole life, and he was like
Right.
so old school British, he's just like it's just been a miserable
It's
painful
suffering the whole
period.
time.
I didn't call it discipline for nothing, it's like
Yeah.
um and yeah, so that song in itself though is just a fucking tower of melody
Jesus.
and fearsome, just beautiful pastoral and fearsome violence, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's basically a trio with a few little overdubs to fill it out, and it just it's incredible.
Yeah. That part really blows my mind. The fact of like, because it just seems like there's so much here, and yeah, it's a trio with some few overdubs. It feels
Yeah,
like so much more.
it does. I mean, they wrote, they really wrote it is one of the most immaculate pieces of rock
Yeah,
music, like progressive rock music. I mean, it goes beyond progressive rock because
right.
a lot of times just the work that's done in progressive rock is trying to you know outdo the human emotion, for
Yeah.
to find the power of mathematics and music
Hmm.
theory and stuff, and they really didn't do that. They harnessed the theory and the mathematics and brought it under some kind of wild control to elevate the
Yeah.
power of human emotion and raw melody and all these things. It
Hmm.
really is just a extraordinary jam. Doesn't really get old.
No, another one that could have gone on the Voyager gold disc.
Yeah, that'd be a weird, that'd be an intense jam out there, wouldn't it?
Aliens be like, "Oh, I don't know if we want to go." I'm just imagining that with like trash on the B side. That'd really
Yeah.
fuck them up.
I mean, I will, to my credit, or to not to my credit, but to the Voyager's credit, I do love what they put on there. I listened to it when the Voyager box set came out, and I was
Yeah,
really moved. I think that I dropped a couple of little tears, came up on my eyelash and shit, and I was listening to that, just like, wow, this
yeah,
is humanness, to some degree.
yeah,
It's very cool, so, um,
yeah,
no complaints. I just would add, I
right,
would add some Crimson for
yeah.
some Alien Prog
Some,
nerds and Trash
some,
for
yeah.
just to let them know what we've got,
What we're really about here.
what we've got in us, what we're
Yeah.
capable of.
What about lyrics? What are your favorite lyrics?
Recently, my favorite lyric again, and I've done this multiple times. My favorite lyrics, I think, are ones that you misinterpret over and over
Yeah,
again, and then you forget them and can't remember what they are, and go back to that. Like, what the heck is that? Does anyone know what he's saying? And recently, with me doing this Dylan Center thing,
oh
um,
right.
I'm reacquainted with Like a Rolling Stone, and in that opening line, "Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, you threw the bums a dime in your prime, didn't you?"
Yeah,
And before I went back and checked it out, on the internet, I was just like, what the fuck is he saying there? And I did. I was like, I wonder if anyone's ever found out, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, will
right.
we ever know? And I looked it up and I was just like, oh my God, that is incredible.
Yeah,
Whenever you look up a Dylan line, you don't know. I mean, generally you're just like, yeah,
right.
he had a knack, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, he had a touch. And it's so, this one ties into a later one, so I won't go that deep on it,
sure.
but yeah, I don't know. That one cracks me up, and I hope I forget it again so I can, because that moment of discovery when he says you threw the bums a dime in your prime, like he's had a way to
Yes.
like tie it up, man. I felt that way once.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I love that. No, I love those moments too. Yeah, where you're. I just like the idea of like a Dylan song. Nobody knows what the fuck he's saying. It's like the most well documented
Yeah,
like
yeah.
lyricist of the past 100 years. But I
It
totally get
is.
it.
It is. It's all. Yeah. I mean, after winning the Nobel Prize for writing lyrics and
Yeah,
shit, people like
yeah,
they really know what he's been saying. You know what I mean?
right.
I don't. I still don't.
Yeah, I still have no clue, and I'm not. I like it that way because then you get moments like this where you're like, oh shit, man, he is that good. Um, what's the last song you completely fell in love with?
The last song I really had the aha thing was the first song off Faust 4. It's actually called Krautrock,
Yeah,
right? Did they they must have coined the term through the naming of that song. Is that right? Do you think?
I I don't know. I mean, it seems like it. Or
It's like
if
69, 70,
yeah,
it seemed like the name,
the
like,
timing makes sense.
yeah. But the Comets guys were always really into Faust, and they talked a lot about Faust, especially later things like when we did the Six Organs Ascension record with Comets as the
Mm-hmm.
backing band. And generally, while we have conversations in the van in the early day, well, in the kind of mid-period days when it was like, oh, Aman Jewel and Guru Guru and these different krautrock groups that we loved, they'd all kind of be like Faust, Faust, Faust too, and I'd be like, I don't know, always touched in there, and I never got the bug. But the other day I was driving home in Arcata, and there was kind of driving through these farmlands, and I was listening to that first song off Faust 4, and it's just got all that crazy kind of drony collagey thing at the beginning, and then it kicks into the beat. And the sun was kind of coming through the fields, like right into my eyes, very cinematic. And it's just like, it hit me full force. I was like, whoa, these guys are genius. It's like, wow. And then, a little bit like the King Crimson thing. I was like, I think I'm gonna have to like listen to all their records now and find out what the deal is, and, so that was my last, aha, like, that love at first sight, the queasy kind of, and kind of cool that it was, to use the falling in love, it's also with someone that you've been around for a long time, that you never had that moment. And 25 years later, you're like, wow, we've had drinks at bars and,
we've got
things all this long time, but all of a sudden I just see you, like I see you,
Yeah. I love that analogy. Yeah, no, I mean, this is, there's something about the song. It's like this slow build that just like, it just keeps, I'm a sucker. Again, another thing I'm a sucker for. I can totally imagine that, like, the picture of driving through the farmlands and like the sun hitting, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah. And it's kind of scrappy too, because they're using all that, cut up and collage. So that stuff's already pretty imperfect with tape splices. And then the beat itself, like, we think of the krautrock, the famous, moderate krautrock beat is like, Noi or whatever, where it's this perfect drumming, or even Can, it's so kind of like accomplished. And the drum is pretty scrappy. The beat is really, really steady. It kind of turns around on itself a few times. And it does kind of feel like maybe it was, something that they either just put together in the moment, or the drummer kind of did. And they're like, hey, we're keeping it. We're done, and then you're like, wow, that's it. That's sort of the blueprint, and it's very, very imperfect, but very wonderful in its imperfection.
Yeah, totally.
And kind of funny too about, and I went back to Ben Chesney, because I thought that he was like the Faust master. I'm pretty sure he was in the olden days, the box set and just like all the albums, and would always reference all the stuff. And I was like, dude, I got hit with the bug. Like, where do I start? He's like, oh, they're okay. He's like, yeah, I'm like, he's like, they're cool. It's a couple of those records are, just all right. I was like, so I'm really out of sync, he's on his downside. He's like, he'll come back in a bit and we'll be able to.
Yeah. It'll come back together. That's hilarious. What cover song is better than the original?
Special Care by Fanny. Do you know it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
This is like light years better than the original.
Well, I love it when a group picks a song that, like sometimes it works, Wilson Pickett, Hey Jude is killer, but it's hard to be, you've picked this like really epic song. You're like, I'm going to cover, Castles Made of Sand by Hendrix or something like that. And you're like, dude, what the fuck are you possibly going to do with that? It's like, and so I love it when an artist, hears something in basically a throwaway tune. That Buffalo Springfield tune is just like, maybe it's got a funky hip shaking groove, and you're like, that's enough for the B-side of the record or something, like, but otherwise nobody's ever talked about that Buffalo Springfield song, I don't think. And then Fanny is like, dude, we're gonna fucking knock this shit out of the park all the way out. Triple, quadruple run, whatever.
Everything about it is just, God, it's just, like, I don't know. This is one of those bands. Like, how did they not become huge? I mean, I think there's obvious answers to that question, but man, they were killer.
But they also, I didn't really know about them, and they were pretty big. They wrote their page, their corner of the page in the history book, and definitely they're not. If you look up and you're like 70s hard rock, Badfinger, and this, and you're like, Fanny's somewhere in the, a little smaller print, but, but it's still pretty cool that
Yeah.
in that, what we think of as this white masculine sort of waspy, American or
Hmm.
British, boys club, that there actually is this broader diversity within that world, that here's these two, Filipino ladies that, came and built this rock band, and basically, were able to do their thing.
Yeah.
And it just it's incredible. And it just tweaks, it tweaks the people's history a little bit of, classic
Definitely.
rock and roll. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the song is huge. Great organ, just great. They just put it together so well. And
Man. Yeah. And then like the ending sort of breakdown thing where everyone's just going off. Oh man.
you got to
So good.
imagine in like 72 or whenever that song came out, at the fucking roller skating rink in the valley
Oh.
down there in LA or whatever, like that shit hit. And it was just like, what? And people were probably writing this shit for rollers. They're
Yeah.
like, what about the dance hall? They're like, fuck the dance hall. We want these, like, 12 through like 17-year-olds at the rink,
Yeah. Fuck.
and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
special care. I mean, that jam was
Nailed it.
rocking the rink.
Yeah. All right, two questions left. So, what is the song that means the most to you? And not necessarily because of the song itself, but because of something you associate it with or someone you associate it with,
Well,
perhaps.
this one going to tie back into my favorite new lyric discovery,
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the secret lyrics at the beginning of Like a Rolling Stone by Dylan. Um, because I thought, like, this song, a little bit like the Ayler one, it's like, it's so steeped in, in all these different emotions, and layered histories and layered vibes and
Uh-huh.
moments and stuff. So I chose Hendrix's Like a Rolling Stone that he performed at Monterey when he
Yeah.
first came back. Partly because it's like, it's his, I know where he's at in that
Mm-hmm.
song. You have one time in your life as an artist, if you have this time, to whatever degree, where you're just a fucking kid or whatever. And you go off, and everyone around you is like, where the fuck are you going? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, go get your ass down to the gas station and get to work or whatever, and you're
Yeah.
just like, no, I'm going to be a musician, like a rock musician or something. And they're like, you're fucking crazy. And then, there's one time where you come back, and you're like, to whatever degree, not everybody does it to the size that Dylan or Hendrix did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there may be a moment where, like, your friends and family are like, holy shit, like, you did it. You made a record, or you did a tour, or you did it.
Yeah.
You are an artist. You went out there and did the thing, man. You did something, that you said you would. And that's Hendrix's moment. He came back
Yeah.
from England for the first time. He set his foot on American soil again. I think I'm getting this history right. Someone can correct me from the Peanut Gallery if not. But he I'm pretty sure that he came back. That was his first American gig, and all these peers are there, the Byrds, the Who, everybody's watching. They've kind of heard about this guy a little bit, but nobody knows this guy's going to be the biggest thing in the world, or that he'll change everything. And and he, steps on that stage and just changes the history of culture and music. That
Yeah.
was the moment, that it erupted. We may not see it now as wildly as they saw it then,
Right.
because his history is so big, and so it has such
Right.
an effect. But by all accounts, that was the moment the world heard Hendrix. That he was either going to be someone that was another one of these weird psych artists playing at the UFO club in Britain and never broke in America or never came back or whatever. Or, what did happen is he set foot, and within a few chords, the world knew that we would never be the same,
Yeah.
And you can feel him feeling that, and he performs like it, and he plays his favorite song. He plays
Yeah.
like the Rolling Stone because he was a Dylan freak. Everybody knew that. He's all his girlfriends in the thing talk about how much, and he, every chance he get, would talk about Dylan, that he was his artistic icon and muse and his mental guide. So he plays, his favorite Dylan song of the moment. and there's all this layering, like Dylan at Newport, when the person screams Judas at him and he says, I don't believe you, and then launches into like a Rolling Stone,
Yeah.
throws that bum a dime and fucking just like changes history, right?
Yeah.
And changes culture in that moment. And then Hendrix did it a few years later with the same fucking song and the
Unreal.
same kind of like thing rolling over. And all of a sudden there's all this like history and layering and pastiche just like all super maximized
Yeah.
into this moment. And so
Yeah.
for me, and just, and also he just sounds like, that and Wild Thing, he just sounds like Blue Cheers, like he just beyond Blue Cheers them with his crazy fuzz chords and like, you hear him playing a lick. He says, he starts introducing the song when he's got the thing. He says, I'm going to do all this. He's rambling because he's on acid or whatever. He's like, oh, it's about Bob Dylan stuff. And he stops himself and he says, oh, let me just play. I'm just going to take a second and play you a little guitar. And he just like launches into this lick and you can feel the whole world go like, wow, we've never heard that blues and that psychedelia, that like crazy. There's just something, it's just, you hear the moment. This is a Pruder film. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, so for me, I'm like that. It still electrifies me to hear all that. And the Dylan Newport, when they're yelling at him, and he just, he doesn't crumble. He just steps ahead of history and makes history, and you're just like, Jesus, that's a profound thing to see or hear. We're so incredibly lucky to have the documents we have of those things. So
I know,
I know that's my thing. Yeah. Long,
no,
but it ties back in.
Yeah. I almost feel bad asking the last question because that was like a really good place to end, but also like gotta give. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song, I think, is "Black Woman" by Sonny Sharrock. Maybe an obvious choice for people of our musical persuasion. I don't know, but it's another lightning bolt song that in the early days before I really, for me, when I was discovering free jazz and noise music and think, really more, the most challenging music, that at the farthest fringe was not where my heart lived completely. I got it. I intook it. I loved it, for the moments and stuff. But there were like guys like Noel and Comments they lived all the way at the fringe forever. So they'd be in like rush hour traffic listening to the craziest sheer noise album like for hours and just be like, this is where my safe space is. And I'm like, no, we got to come a couple steps back for the traffic. You know what I mean? Like, it can be like Be Hard or, like whatever, yes to the amplifiers, no to the white noise, the sheer white noise fucking thing, it's like, but, Black Woman, is that perfect place for me, where experimentalism and, harmony and melodicism and spiritualism and just the capability, the potential of, capability of music to express and to reach you. It's all there, incredible song. Gateway for me in Comments, in the early days.
Man. Well,
what's yours? You probably said this on your podcast, but did you have a new one, a new favorite song since then?
I still I feel mine's a little bit of an obvious answer. Maybe I don't, people might not say this isn't technically a song, but, Rainbow and Curved Air by Terry Riley is like my favorite piece of music ever made.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, but it, Black Woman's up there. Like that's, every time I listen and every time I put this on, it just kind of I don't know, like just stops you in your track. Like it's like just this energy in sonic form of like, it's an incredible piece of music. And I'm the same way of like, I mean, I've had my moments of like, like harsh noise and stuff, but I don't know. I'm always looking for some like underlying like melody or melodicism or, I can't even, I used to have a duo with my buddy Nathan and we did like really heavy drone and he was like really came from more the harsh noise aspect, but I was always trying to like get a melody in there, like slow melody buried under all the fuzz. Like I couldn't not. Like that was my brain, just that's where it would go to. And
yeah. I mean, I think that's where you engage with the listener, on a narrative level. I think sometimes sheer noise or sheer like non-melodic stuff. It, to me, when I listen to that, it really allows my mind, what I start doing, like sometimes I'll write listening to that stuff, because if my ears can't hear a melody or follow something in it, sometimes they'll start to invent things, they'll start to see Rorschach, and it's musical Rorschach. So I'm like, there is even, some of the most far out, like kind of really noisy PSF stuff or high note stuff, sometimes like that, where I was like, wow, I really, start hearing, simple melodies and stuff in some of these things. And I appreciate it for that, but that's a pretty, pretty heavy, you have to have a pretty focused engagement.
Right.
So,
but it's a good place to stop. Record's out September 5th. Are you guys doing any shows around the record release or anything? We are. We're doing, let's plug it. Let's plug it, baby.
Yeah, we're doing tours.
Hell yeah.
East Coast tour and West Coast tour.
Okay.
So it's Dylan or bust in Tulsa, but
right.
if you live near a big city on the Upper East Coast or on any of the big cities on the West Coast, you can see us in September. East Coast is November, but the tickets are live. If this comes out by the time that by the time the record comes out, then
this will be out soon. So
come see us. Come see us. I think. I'm confident in our shows. People have been loving them.
By the end of each tour, you're going to be peeling the paint off the walls. So.
Yeah. We peel it off. They're going to have to repaint it. You know what I mean? It's like I got to shut it down. No federal funding. No help. No help to rebuild. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's either state or bust. Yeah. Yeah. It's. We're not going to get invited back to these places.
Yeah. Well, hey. So catch it while you can.
Yeah. Awesome, Brad. Thank you.
Once again, thank you to Ethan Miller for taking the time for doing the show. Please pick up a copy of Orcutt, Shelley Miller, vinyl, digital, all sorts of stuff. Link in the show notes. Of course, you can listen to all of Ethan's picks at the playlist, which is also linked in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Hey, if you like the show, please leave a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps in the world of algorithms. And if you really, really like it, you think Foxy Digitalis does some cool stuff, or maybe you just like me, I don't know. Patreon.com/Foxy Digitalis. For as little as $3 a month, you get longer episodes, a little bit more, supports the cause. Thank you everybody who's signing up. Till next time, keep on listening whatever the hell you want.